It was spelled correctly in the front door. The signage on the side was incorrect. Correctly in the front door. The signage on the side was incorrect. The reason why you don't know that it was spelled correctly in the front door is because Nick chose not to show you. Printers all the time. Do you think they were the ones who were like, I don't know how to spell learning? Do you think that's what happened? Or do you think they were like, all right, these up and they sent us the wrong signage, but we'll just keep it up for now until they fix it? Like, what do you think is more likely? Do you think that these guys are I guess you have to assume they're like incredibly low IQ, right? Like you're like, oh, they're Somali. They must be low IQ. They don't know how to spell. So they wrote Leering Center and then they made the sign themselves and then they posted it and no one corrected them because everyone else is also low IQ and they put it up there. Even though they're a fraudulent business, they put it up there because they obviously don't care because they're a fraudulent business. There's no children there. And at no point do you ever consider maybe if they were a fraudulent business, why they invite additional scrutiny by having the wrong signage on the one side? Is there another signage that was correct? Is the name of the business actually correct in the government records? Perhaps they didn't write the sign themselves. Perhaps they paid for the sign and the sign poster wrote it wrong and they just put it up regardless. You know, because it gets the job done from afar. What do you think is more likely? I can't believe this is what we're arguing over, too. I don't think we can say they get dinged more than the other comparable care centers because they got unfairly highlighted and targeted by Shilly. No, but they did get dinged more. No, he's saying that the center had the most failed marks on their state inspections, I believe was the reference. Exactly. When I say they got dinged more, I'm talking about the investigation that we conducted when we here in this community dug in to the actual government files. They have had their licenses revoked in the past as well. They got a new license. They had the most points of failure in the investigations that had taken place by the Minneapolis Department of Human Services.
CEO a tour after mid footage from the six.
We saw this already. We covered this already. Yeah. New video evidence definitively proves Nick Shirley's a lying fraud. WCCO confirmed. Kids go to ABC Learning Center. Spoke with director Ahmed Hasan. Reviewed the surveillance video. WCCO also confirmed the kids are attending the now infamous Quality Learning Center. Speaking with the mother dropping out for kids with a fixed sign out front. Another daycare has faced extensive damage overnight thanks to the vandals. Here's Nick Shirley and his random friend accusing ABC Learning Center of having 0 children inside. Shocker. Surveillance video of the day they filmed proves that they were lying and people were dropping off kids throughout the day. The other side of this that's awfully suspicious is the fact that David got to be on Fox News anonymous. He's a primary researcher on this major piece of news. Why that? Since Nick Shirley wants us all to believe that only Somalis commit fraud, below are the relevant documents in the fraud case involving Nick's family, in which they were alleged to have defrauded a company of over $1 million. They settled the case for 20 grand. Wait, what? What is this? I don't know. I'll look into this. It just came out. I'll look into it. At least getting exposed to the liar will cause Shirley to improve his standards and be better. No, it's not. It's not going to do that, especially because, as Andrew Mercado reports, NPR News, the Minnesota Public Radio News, reports that Minnesota House GOP leader Lisa DeMuth acknowledged the Republican Party's involvement in Nick Shirley's viral daycare video, saying, "We work with Nick Shirley on this issue. That matters because the video has been widely framed as independent citizen journalism. Minnesota officials have said fraud investigations were already underway long before the video, and inspections have not backed up many of the claims being made about the specific daycare centers shown." Still, the video fueled widespread outrage and targeted scrutiny of Somali-owned childcare providers, with the top Republican now on record confirming coordination. This reframes the entire narrative. This wasn't just a lone YouTuber uncovering something new. A political party acknowledges involvement in producing or shaping media that went viral, not organically, and helped drive public backlash. It's insane. Every day, there is new information that comes out about the story that makes things look even worse. And every day, I find myself even more mad at all the people that got duped by. But all of those people that got duped by, will they actually see this? No, they won't. The reason why they won't is because they already have their narrative. Okay? They already have the narrative set.
Police family.
The narrative confirms their priors. That's all they care about. And everyone that is a naysayer is actually a stupid idiot who's biased and loves fraud when Somalis are doing it. That's their attitude on this issue. And when you have a steady slop service from a lot of other biased right-wing YouTubers and Twitch streamers, people like Asmongold, that are going to consistently keep reinforcing the idea by using racialized narratives over and over again and lead them astray, it doesn't matter. No one ever actually finds themselves on the other side. No one ever actually investigates the stuff thoroughly. None of the that's 1010 what happened. Businesses don't usually make their own signage, or a lefty dying on a hill. Exactly. Oh, this is another case of the lefties dying on a hill because they don't want to admit that like Somalis are capable of doing fraud. Nobody's saying that. Everyone is capable of doing fraud, okay? Everyone's capable of doing fraud. Fraud is the most American thing that happens. It happens all the time. It's completely unacceptable, and every single instance should be prosecuted, investigated thoroughly, and prosecuted and punished. Fraudsters should be punished, okay? I don't give a if they're Somali Americans or Italian Americans or Americans with a dual citizenship to Israel, for example, like the one that Donald Trump actually pardoned recently. Annoying that you have to keep repeating that? Of course I have to keep repeating that, because in the off chance that there are some people that are coming in here thinking that I am, pro-Somali fraud, or it's good for them to hear it. So it makes them reconsider what they previously thought was the case. But yeah, this meta is going to do incredible numbers in 2026.
Minnesota GOP worked with YouTuber Nick Shirley on that video. Our So Young Kim joining us now in studio. And So Young, you stopped by several daycare centers mentioned in that video to get their side of the story. And
now they're playing the victim card because they don't want to.
That's fine.
Well, that escalated quickly. I decided to drop by the Somali-run childcare center, Benati Childcare 2 in Columbus at 5 p.m. to see what type of activity was going on. After a couple of minutes of asking questions and a few knocks on the door, I was threatened by a group of men. I wonder why. Because you're a random dickhead. You're in Columbus, Ohio. What does that have to do with even the fraud in Minneapolis? Do you guys understand why this is frustrating? As I correctly called the moment that this video came out, what did I say? I said, this is a wonderful narrative to cut welfare, okay? The administration will use this to cut welfare. Lo and behold, that's precisely what they did. They cut all the funding to child care facilities across the board in every single state. First, they started with the state of Minnesota. Then they moved to every single state, okay? What did I also say? That this will invite copycats to randomly pull up child care facilities that they suspect is being owned by Somalis or people with Arab-style names, with Muslim names. Lo and behold, that is exactly what has happened. It's like a million Pizzagates taking place all at once, all around the country. Yeah, this is the CBS News report on this. I already covered this. I already showed you the CBS News coverage. But yeah, CBS News in Minneapolis reports Nick Shirley went to 2 non-operational centers, an after-school center in the morning and an open center with video proving kids were inside. He misinterpreted the staff's resistance to open their doors to a random group of men with kids there. I don't know what to do with this story. There's undoubtedly fraud in every single government program. This guy's Cato. This guy's a Cato Institute guy. So as a libertarian, on the one hand, he wants to cut all the government spending, okay? But on the other hand, as a pro, open borders guy, he's like, well, they're all on some of the Somali people that are in America. So he's stuck. He's stuck in the middle here. He's like, oh, I don't know. White vigilantism around racialized hysteria and panic is an age-old American pastime. Just think about the 20th century white American lynch mobs going after black people. I know, but in 2025, we should have moved past it. And seemingly, not a single dickhead is even remotely interested in trying to comprehend why people would be disturbed to see a random dude with a camera rolling up to a place where children are being left behind by their parents at the custody of another adult.
What were you told?
I gotta pee.
Yeah, we were at two of the childcare businesses in Minneapolis that were featured in the video. We were invited into one of them, and the owners say they feel targeted and maintain they did nothing wrong.
This is suite A, and that is suite B. So that's the difference. They open 2 p.m. So when Nick Shirley was here, it was before that. He came like around before the operation starts.
On Nicollet Avenue in Minneapolis, we spoke with the owner of Albee Kitchen and the building Quality Learning Center is in. She says she's been receiving a lot of calls and visitors asking about the child care provider next door to her kitchen. It's one of the daycare businesses featured in a viral video accusing them of fraud. The center's sign on the building has been getting a lot of attention for a misspelling, and as you can see, that has since been updated. The commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Children, Youth and Families responded to the video Monday, saying there were children present at the sites when they were visited. State officials say the center had reported they would be closing last week, but officials learned Monday they have decided to remain open. We looked up their licensing status with the state, and it's listed as being active. Our crews did see children going in and out of the building Tuesday. A parent says she's been a customer for several months.
There's a lot of daycare, but this is the closest one that we know. It's good as the way they take care of the kids. I like it.
Over on 24th Avenue South, ABC Learning was another provider featured in the video. It was filled with children Tuesday. The owner got emotional while defending her business.
If I do something wrong, hold me accountable. I'm a human being. I can take my problem. But don't blame me something I have nothing to do with.
This center was open 5.5 years. This center never had problem.
And people at Quality Learning Center didn't want to provide a comment on camera, and the state says they currently have 55 open investigations related to the Child Care Assistance Program. In the studio, So Young Kim, Fox 9.
The Trump administration says it is now withholding all federal child care funding to the entire state. The agency says the state receives $185 million for 19,000 children, and now that money will be gone. And the agency did not specify any alternate plans for families who will be affected. DHS and the FBI said they were surging resources to Minnesota to investigate what they called suspected fraud sites. This all comes in response to a viral video posted by a MAGA content creator. He claims that he uncovered widespread fraud by Somali-run child care centers in the state. CNN is looking into those claims and has not independently verified the accusations. But the Deputy Secretary of Health and Human Services is taking the allegations at face value. Take a listen.
Intrepid journalists have made shocking and credible allegations of extensive fraud in Minnesota's child care programs. We believe the state of Minnesota has allowed scammers and fake daycares to siphon millions of taxpayer dollars over the past decade. Starting today, we require a justification, receipt, or photo evidence before we make a payment.
However, the so-called evidence comes from a man who has posted anti-Muslim and anti-immigrant content in the past. CNN's Whitney Wild speaks to the man behind that video and takes a look at his claims.
We're from CNN. Can we talk to you? This is MAGA YouTuber Nick Shirley. Back at
Is what Nick did not consider is not what is what Nick did not considered harassment? No, it is harassment. Of course it's harassment. The reason why people are saying it's not harassment is because they agree with him and they want to do what he's doing. Okay? If a liberal with a camera was going outside of, I don't know, like daycare facilities operated by some Christian group or something and demanding to see the white babies inside, people would understand that it's harassment, right? Especially if it was like a black or brown liberal who was doing that, you know? Let me in. I need to see your kid. That's it. Of course it's harassment.
Daycare in Minnesota, he alleged was a fraudulent facility in a now viral video.
People are going to say this is a left or right issue, but no, fraud is fraud. And so I'm not out here trying to put a twist on things.
Shirley's viral video, released over the weekend, in which he says he's uncovering tens of millions of dollars in fraud at Minneapolis daycares run by the Somali community, was retweeted by Elon Musk and Vice President J.D. Vance. In the video, Shirley tries to open locked doors and talk to people at various daycares he claims are frauds.
Did you come during their normal operating hours when you came to visit?
I came at 11 a.m., I believe, and I also came the following day, later in the day. The point of it is not whether or not I came at the right time of their operation.
What do you mean? Of course, brother. You're right in a sense where you say the point of it is not whether or not I came at the right time or not. You're right in a sense because it doesn't matter. Even if you came during business hours, they're still not going to open the doors to you because you're a random dickhead with a camera crew. Okay? God, he is stupid. He literally has brain damage. That's what's so frustrating. That's another thing that's so frustrating about it is that this is an objectively stupid person, like an objectively low IQ person. So much so that the first time I encountered his commentary, I felt bad. I felt like I was being ableist when I was making fun of him. Like, this person will not be criminally charged, okay? If they were to kill someone, you could make a convincing argument not to send him to prison, but instead to a facility because he is that stupid, okay? He is medically stupid. It blows my mind that the right collectively has basically decided that their champions are people who are incredibly dumb. People who look smelly, people who look like they have no interest or investment in identifying the truth whatsoever. People who look like they shower, people who look like they're medically dumb. That's where we're at. It's almost, like I said, like they take pride in it, where it's like, well, this guy's just like me, you know?
Hours. The point is that blacked out doors, they can't give you any information. You call that number, no one answers. I wasn't trying to go inside, and there should be a way for somebody to actually be able to call that number and somebody to be able to answer. These aren't real businesses.
But surely you don't think a daycare should just be unlocked. You shouldn't be able to just walk into a
There
daycare.
should be a reception.
No, every daycare is locked.
Oh my God. This is what happens when an actual adult with at least 3.5 brain cells encounters a right-wing slop merchant.
And so, okay, you bring up a fair point. Then why can't they actually give me information how to
This guy is dumber than dirt.
enroll a child?
Federal law enforcement has been investigating fraud in Minnesota for several years. Both Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel said on social media they've indicted dozens of defendants. DHS has posted multiple videos of agents they say are conducting a massive fraud investigation.
Do you think that federal law enforcement hasn't done enough? I mean, they would say, look, these fraud cases have been going on.
The other side of this also, and I know this for a fact, is like, you know how the rallying cry of trolls in my chat is basically, I was just pretending to be stupid. Haha, I trolled you, right? When we react this way, or when I specifically react this way to how dumb this guy is and how clear of a grifter he is, right? They straight up play that same exact role where it's like, well, you got trolled again. It's like, did I get trolled? Or am I frustrated because I thought you would be a little bit more intelligent? I thought you'd be a little bit smarter than leaning into a incredibly stupid video concocted by a person that you probably wouldn't even feel safe letting you drive, this person would not be legally liable in vehicular manslaughter. You would not feel safe allowing this person to drive you around town. And you're over here being like, nope, this guy actually is the most brilliant investigative reporter of all time. It's just like, I assume, my mistake for assuming, and yes, he literally doesn't have a license. His mom drives him around. That's true. It's so sad, but it's funny. Bro, playing dumb is a central part of right-wing propaganda. It makes you come off as a regular guy when you're a part of an organized agitprop effort and also helps you get away with harassment. Playing dumb is just OP. Brother, I don't think this person is playing dumb. Come on. There are some who do that. There are certainly people who actually genuinely dial back and play dumb. He's not one of those. That's a natural. That boy is a natural Dumbo, okay?
But they've already done like 80 indictments. The cases have been going on, for years.
And why did I show up one day in Minnesota and go to all these daycares, no children? They're receiving millions of dollars. We uncovered nearly $110 million in fraud in one day.
How do you know that all the allegations that you're making are true?
How do I know that they're true? Well, we showed you guys what was happening, and then you guys can go ahead and make your own analysis.
We're coming so we can make our own analysis. Are you 100% sure you're true?
Yeah, I am 100% sure I'm true.
CNN is looking.
She's baiting him for defamation. This guy also, I think, has no care or consideration for his own well-being. Like, he just doesn't even understand what's going on here. I don't know. Maybe it's through. Like, I can't believe that this is it. This is peak. This is peak right-wing the propaganda merchant.
Looking into Shirley's claims.
Hi, my name's Whitney Wild. I'm a correspondent for CNN.
We reached out to several of the daycares featured in the now viral video. Only one daycare facility answered and said they are a legitimate business.
Have you seen the videos, purporting that some of these daycares don't have kids inside?
Minnesota Republicans say despite the new focus from the Trump administration, they have been sounding the alarm on fraud for years.
We have talked about fraud. We have gotten stories. We've tried to push this forward every way that we can.
At the daycare where Shirley showed back up, a stream of children walk inside.
You're saying that this is a fraudulent daycare. There's kids being dropped off right now.
Yes, the Commissioner of Children literally said a week ago this place was closed. Did you know They're showing face right now.
A viral video, disputed claims, and their full fallout remains to be seen.
Dozens of fraud cases that DOJ is touting began during the Biden administration. Back in 2022, the U.S. Attorney's Office for Minnesota announced 47 indictments for this massive fraud scheme. Since then, they've indicted more than 30 more people, and in total, they have secured at least 56 convictions. Whitney Wild, CNN, Minneapolis.
This video is up, just so you know. I know, I don't
talk
care.
About all of this right now. And Sarah, I want to go to you first. What do we know based on evidence about the alleged fraud in Minnesota and how legitimate and widespread it may be?
Well, I think a lot of people were very apt to believe Shirley's videos because we had indictments in 2022 when reporting first came out about this issue. It was David Fahrenthold, then at the Washington Post.
Yes, his mom went with him to prom. Farmington Sr. asked mom to home throne prom. Yes, it's true. Yes, he took his mom to prom. Look at this. He was a Mormon average white boy. He went on a mission to Chile and wanted to be a YouTube star posting stupid ass pranks. He went to Minneapolis and did nothing. They already knew about the fraud. Mediocre white Mormon boys are so damn pathetic and whiny. Here, yes, he did. Nick Shirley, senior at Farmington High School, said he and his classmates were sad and they learned prom would be canceled, but decided he'd do his best to make the most out of the unique situation. His mom is also a wannabe MAGA influencer. It's not even a joke. And not only that, but his mom is the one who drives him around. Yeah, she's on Newsmax. Also, here is a blast from the past. Walter Masterson. Nick Shirley tried to troll me back in August 2024, and it didn't go well for him.
On social media, and he mocks Republicans.
Really? You think he knows me?
He probably does.
Yeah, we got to talk.
This is him and his mom.
Hey, your job, go get him lined up to talk to us. We're going to keep talking to some of the people. You got the Antifa shirt on.
Yeah.
What does Antifa stand for?
It's anti-fascism.
And what do you think about this Project 2025 stand right here?
Project 2025, I mean, have you read it?
I have read a little bit of it.
What do you think about it?
He doesn't know how to read, so we know that's a lie.
Well, I've just known that Donald Trump has said he's not part of it.
No, Project 2025. You want to talk about it?
Bots, bro. Bots. Everyone's a bot. I can't stand it. Previous things that would read as gross or dumb or not people to look up to are now seen as like there's no control. There's no mechanism that looks at a guy like this. There's no like consensus that looks at a guy like this and goes, maybe this guy's not the best person for this subject, you know? There, like, the has hit every aspect, even the right-wing slopaganda. Everything's race to the bottom now, dude. Jesus Christ. He's like, oh, what do you know about Project 2025? I just know that Trump said he's not involved in it.
Yeah, let's talk about
Absolutely. So Trump said he never heard of it. He also doesn't like it. Project 2025, all the co-authors are former members of the Trump administration. They've all worked for him. They stayed loyal to him. One of the most loyal people ever. Stayed loyal to him through everything. The election fraud, January 6th, probably the most loyal people ever. And Project 2025 wants to use Schedule F to fire federal workers and replace them with Trump loyalists. And he did this in his first term. He was great at it. John McKinty was a great
if Donald
person.
Trump if he publicly came out multiple times saying he does not endorse or he's not a part of
Well, he'd be lying.
Yeah, he is lying, and he was lying. We're now in the end of 2025, and we know he was lying. He's been flexing about how he's doing Project 2025. An extension of that was also, cutting off the water project for the state of Colorado, for example. He's just doing that. He's just punishing blue states. That was another Project 2025 moment.
25.
He'd be lying.
Why do they keep endorsing it?
He'd be always lying. I mean,
Why would he lie about that?
Why would Trump lie? You know what, you dude, the left owns. You got me, bro. I don't know why Trump would have any reason to lie whatsoever, other than that there's been massive public pushback.
What's the thing that scares you most about Project 2025?
The thing that scares me most about Project 2025. Okay, Schedule F. It's going to replace all the government workers with Trump loyalists. One in there, it's amazing. It's about Mexico's sovereignty. I mean, it's saying it's going to use America's military to go in and invade Mexico to get rid of the cartels. You know, the cartels are a problem, but should we invade them?
The cartels are already here in America. You know?
Well, should we invade Mexico and invade their sovereignty with the United States military? That is in Project 2025. I've read Project 2025, so I'm very versed in it. So you can have 300 new aircraft carriers is in there. Let me see. It wants to build more nukes, and anything that we've done to get rid of nukes.
That could be good. That could be good protection for the U.S.
More nukes. We need more nukes.
For the U.S.? We got to protect ourselves.
We don't have enough nuclear bombs. Is that a joke? That's a joke. What?
And a lot of the money, what do you... Brooke.
His mom gets involved because it's not going well.
You can help. What's your question? My mom's got a question.
Okay.
What's your question for him?
Save me, mommy. Mommy, save me. This adult, he's... I don't know the words he's using.
Okay, I'm part of this. So Kamala Harris now is all of a sudden running on the border. Do you believe that she's going to secure the border?
Okay, one of her problems. Okay, that's a good one. That's a fair question. So, as when she was VP, one of the things she was tasked with, there was the 3 nations, 3 countries where they had the bulk of the immigrants coming from, and she was tasked with going and dealing with the internal problems that was causing just this mass migration. And migration from those 3 countries went down after it went from those 3 countries.
After 3.5 years, and finally Joe Biden decided to step up and will come in.
Have I watched?
Waved at the cartel?
Have I waved at the cartel? So most of the drugs coming in, they give it to white people, all right? And they come through port of entry. Cartels are a major business. They're a functional business.
They're making a
It's just so crazy because, like, 99% of right-wing grievances are just made up. Like, every single talking point, there should be like, what about the drugs coming in? It's like, okay, great. Do you think drugs are actually being shipped over the border by, like, random Guatemalans stuffing bags of fentanyl in their panties? Is that what you think is going on? Are you stupid? The Department of Homeland Security, Customs and Border Patrol, ICE itself has conducted, DEA has conducted numerous investigations into this. Obviously, they have apprehension numbers, and the overwhelming majority, if not damn near the entirety of the cross-border apprehensions of drugs in searches and seizures happen at regular points of entry. They come in through our ports, and they come in through the regular borders, because obviously it would be a logistic nightmare to rely on random people that are unaccountable to traffic a metric ton of drugs that will make their way into the American marketplace. You have to traffic them with cars. And who is less likely to be stopped by Border Patrol? White Americans. And that is, lo and behold, precisely the reason why 90% of the people that are stopped and have drugs on them are actually American citizens. The market is American citizens and the traffickers are American citizens, yet the conversation 90% of the time revolves around random undocumented migrants crossing the border, even though most people don't even cross the border like that anymore. They're visa overstayers. But that's a whole different story. Oh, they're removing the National Guard. Guess you got your wish. Macaroni and cheese socialist. What is this? What is macaroni and cheese socialist? It was Matthew Hasan, dude. What? Yeah, I know they're removing the National Guard. They lost in the court.
Yeah, they're making a lot of money. They're doing really good. They don't put it on brown people's backs and send them over the border. They give it to white people to go over using ports of entry because that is the most effective way to get in there. Every government agency, every alphabet agency
And if
has
they
said,
are giving it to white people, the cartel is paying the white people to bring the drugs in. They're paying them. Every person who comes through our border, they are paying the cartel thousands of dollars, and no one at the border, not even the Border Patrol, no officers, no nobody will stop anybody from coming in.
Yeah, and except the legislation that would have put tons of things where it can sense when fentanyl, all the things that sense when fentanyl is going through the border through ports of entry.
A lot of it.
A major border bill that Langford was a huge Trumper.
Do not mess with
He
Booker T.
supported his election fraud conspiracy.
think
Far
it's
right
so
guy.
funny.
He was one of the co-authors, and they killed it because Trump wanted something to run on.
No, I think it's so funny because they blame Trump for everything. In that DNC, Trump's name has been brought up more than anything because the blame is put on Trump for everything, and they blame Trump for the open border. I do not go off of that. And Kamala Harris now is running on closing the border, where she's been our president for
Literally everything
years.
I've just said about Project 2025 and the border is verifiable and true,
but
and
Trump
you
has
just
nothing to
come
do
with
with
like a bunch of
Project
conjecture and bullshit. Okay?
Can't take. And how much did you get paid to come here? You're a creator.
How much do I get paid to come here? Was it they paid for my flight? Yeah, so they paid for my flight. They gave me access. I've never had access before. Listen.
You get a free hotel room?
Listen. I have traveled around the country dragging MAGA for 4 years.
Yeah, I bet you have. I bet you have.
I don't need a DNC budget to do that. I'm a very successful creator. I have my own budget to travel the entire country and drag MAGA all day.
By the DNC.
Okay,
Kamala's paying
my
for you
own
to drag
credit
it.
card can take me anywhere with.
I think that's also projection for the record. Because, these guys obviously do get paid by right-wing donors. They obviously do get paid by the Republican Party to a certain degree. Do you think his make-a-wish was to become QAnon Upton Sinclair and we're all part of helping his mom make this come true? This has to be true, Adam, right? Because this feels like mogging in broad daylight. Unc, please, I can't take any more Thing 1 and Thing 2, mommy-son duo. It's pretty funny, I think.
In a day to come and drag fascists.
Really?
I don't need the DNC money. I don't need MAGA money. I don't need the special Soros money.
I don't
okay?
think it's right when
You're
you
gonna
call
flip
people
out
like
when you
us
find
that
fascists.
word. Yes.
Yeah, we are not fascist by any means.
No.
Okay.
But you're literally getting paid to come here.
What? I'm getting paid to.
Do you think Republicans? Do you think Donald Trump flew in anybody coming to the RNC? Do you think
He's
he paid?
people to Mar-a-Lago. He has tons of conservative influencers.
Mar-a-Lago. Is it a little weird that Kamala and the DNC has literally started paying people upwards of $1,500 to post a 60-second clip just bashing Trump?
What?
They're literally paying for influence here in the United States.
I've been doing this for free for 4 years, okay? No one has had to pay me to go and take a dump on Trump. And it's not difficult, all right? It's not hard to find people that dislike Trump.
This guy probably poops
all right?
green 'cause he's
You don't have
probably
to
a vegan.
pay anyone here to make a video about how much Trump is a piece of garbage, all right? You don't have to pay them to have him talk about election fraud, and like the host of other problems, all right? All right, who won the election? Quick question. Speed round. Who won the election? You told me. Okay, what happened on January 6th?
I was there.
Wait, what? You were there?
He was. Marx didn't account for this guy? No, that's listen. Fair is fair. I don't think anyone foresaw how unimaginably stupid America would become in an effort to have the most servile, the most malleable population, while simultaneously creating a massive division, a massive class division in education, where the children of the wealthy get the top education and the children of the working poor get dumber and dumber in crippled institutions, many of which don't even actually go to school anymore, homeschool themselves, which is one of the most insane concepts for the Europeans in this chat. Americans actually homeschool their children. A lot of people that you're seeing, they're homeschooled. It is insane. In other places, in competent nations, this is illegal. Okay? Bro's got a point. We don't know how to deal with it. Bro could have thrown us an alley-oop, at least like a hint. Don't M-Hut. Okay. The Hudsons are a different breed. Okay? They're the only people that, and I'm sure they're not, they don't defend homeschooling.
Okay, what happened on January 6th? I was there too. I was also there. I was on the steps of Capitol Hill.
So
what happened on January 6th?
January 6th.
What happened?
Trump gave a very good
Be
speech.
careful because I was there.
I was there too.
Okay, I was on the steps. Be careful. What happened on January 6th?
So what happened was Donald Trump gave a speech.
What happened?
I'm talking to you.
Okay, yeah.
There was an insurrection there.
There was an insurrection. By who? By who?
By the same people that were at the riot yesterday. That also
No.
Oh, it was Antifa. Dude. It was Antifa. Okay. What is this? Look at this comment. I'm sat down this Sunday with Nick Shirley. Nick is doing the work for freedom and for taking our countries back. Thank you, Nick, and thank you, Tommy. I am Nick Mum. Oh, you found Nick Shirley's mom, Brooke Shirley, Brooker T. Jones. And say that this isn't like an op. Tommy Robinson straight up is an agent for Mossad. Okay? Straight up. Straight up. His entire purpose is to constantly, whenever people are like, yo, this Israel stuff sucks, his entire goal is to be like, remember the Muslims. Remember the Muslims. Yo, don't talk about Israel. Israel's good, actually. Israel's an important ally. Remember the Muslims. Remember how scary the Muslims are. Yeah, Trump pardoned Antifa. I'm not going to look at the House committee releasing Jack Smith's deposition transcript. If you think that I give a about the Jack Smith deposition transcript, you are the most insane person of all time. Why do I care about the House? No. I don't care about the Jacks. Why are there so many people in this community that keep saying you have to look at this Jack Smith deposition? How many Jack Smith fans are out there? There are literally dozens of them in here. People are like, bro, you have to check out the Comey investigation. Well, every single Jack Smith stand, it must be in here. Yeah, now random MAGA grifters are showing up to daycares across the country, banging on the door saying, where are the children?
Coalition is a nonprofit that got $23 million from the government to run daycares like this. So,
by the way, the goalpost will inevitably shift to, well, we're giving too much money to these daycare facilities anyway, for the record. Like, just wait for that, too. They'll just go, oh, I guess we're just giving too much money to these daycare facilities anyway. Why are we doing that?
It's 2 p.m. This place is supposed to be open. It closes at around 4:30. We're going to try and buzz one more time to see if anybody opens up looking for childcare.
Wow. Brilliant. Oh, hello. I'm looking for a childcare. Much of the Minnesota fraud, up to 90%, is caused by people that came into our country illegally from Somalia. No, they didn't. Okay, they did not. And that's precisely the reason why you didn't deport any of the people that were charged and convicted. You want to know why? Because they're not illegal immigrants. They're American citizens of Somali descent. But of course, the reason why he's saying that is because he wants to denaturalize people, and I think he's going to try to start this process with like the Somali American fraudsters. The full tweet is even worse. Much of the Minnesota fraud, up to 90%, is caused by the people that came into our country illegally from Somalia. Congresswoman, in air quotes, Omar, an ungrateful loser who only complains and never contributes, is one of the many scammers. Did she really marry her brother? Low lives like this can only be a liability. Dude, this was one of the more insane situations. Like, people just straight up lie about Ilhan Omar. Just like, oh yeah, she married her brother. Send them back to where they came from. Somalia, perhaps the worst and most corrupt country on earth. Make America great again. 90% of the Somali Americans that live on U.S. soil are American citizens, okay? And have been American citizens. The additional 10% are not undocumented, for the record. They're still, you know, they have the proper paperwork. It's just not a thing. It's also kind of difficult to, you know, be an illegal immigrant from Somalia to begin with. Yeah, almost 60% are born here. They're not even like, they're not even naturalized U.S. citizens. They're natural born U.S. citizens. Oh.
Okay, so nobody's going to open. Okay, another entrance. Gonna knock again. Again, it's 2 p.m., so within operating hours, this place should be open. Little Frank needs childcare.
Wow,
Hello?
this is great. What a fantastic investigation you've conducted, sir.
Childcare. Okay, so they didn't answer, so we're gonna call the number on their website, and let's see if they answer.
Thank you for calling Maternity Care Coalition. We're closed for the Independence Day holiday.
Case closed. I don't know why it says Independence Day holiday before people go, Independence Day. It's clearly just now. It's not actually Independence Day. It could have been an automatic message that they recorded back then, but it's very clear that they're closed due to the holidays. Okay? Before you go, oh, wait a minute. Clearly this wasn't on Independence Day. Just remember that. Okay? Or it's not even real. There's also the other side of the story that this might be just totally fake and totally made up. 215 is a Philly area
It's
code.
a little bit cold for Independence Day.
Okay, this isn't real. This is completely fake. There's no shot. Where is this? Where is this even? Early Head Start Child Care Center. This one feels like a... Oh. The unemployment must be going real up the way these people have so much time on their hands for this thing. Is the video of you pouring eggnog on the Charlie Kirk Memorial AI? What? This is the same guy that's saying macaroni and cheese socialism, right? Okay, I'm going to time you out because you're being increasingly strange in the chat. And I feel like you might be going through some stuff right now. And it's, it's weirding me out. I'm timing you out for your own good because it's freaking me out a little bit, the things you're saying. Anyway, here's another guy. Here's another freak rolled up to a random childcare facility. I decided to drop by the Somali-run childcare center, Benati Childcare 2 in Columbus at 5 p.m. to see what activity was going on, and they wouldn't let me see the children. And then they yelled at me.
Who started to unravel all of these claims. The reason why I think Shirley's post has gone viral amongst some of the conservative community is because Minnesota is a politically convenient target, not just for the president, but for the party. Obviously, the governor there, Tim Walz, was the running mate to Kamala Harris in the 2024 election. Ilhan Omar has long been a foe of the president's. And you noted up top that the ICE immigration raids on Somalis has been a priority for the president. So all of this collectively has made this story something that people want to gravitate to. And in addition to that, previous reporting that uncovered widespread fraud in Minnesota from years ago also makes people more apt to believe this, where I think a lot of folks in the media, including you mentioned CNN, which is looking to verify this video, are showing pause and trepidation around Shirley's reporting is just that making sure that it's actually verified that it's showing fraud in a similar way that we all evaluated the initial reporting that came out in 2022.
And Antoine, what does it say about the media landscape at this point when a YouTuber with an anti-immigrant past can post a video with scant evidence, we can say, that launches a federal surge into a state?
I think there are different types of media, and I think Sarah's right. Truth be told, there's been local reporting on this matter for years. In fact, there were 59 convictions under the Biden-Harris administration, as I understand it. And quite frankly, while there's a lot of attention on the Somalian community, there's a white woman by the name of Amy Locke who was convicted, I think, on several different charges, who was considered the ringleader of this. And many of these daycares have been shut down for other reasons, like their ability not to be able to operate properly in the state. And I think the YouTuber video points to one of those who had already been shut down in the past. And quite frankly, I think that the governor has been hamstringed by the legislature for political reasons in order to do more. He was able to shut down the Housing Stabilization Fund, another accusation. So this has become politically convenient, and there's currency in this by this administration to make this a right-wing, red meat, racial talking point about the Somalians, and of course picking on Tim Walz. At the end of the day, I don't think anyone wants to run away from accountability, particularly Tim Walz, who's up for re-election in the state next year.
And also, we know, as we mentioned earlier, VP Vance, he retweeted Nick Shirley's video, and President Trump has also been stoking anti-Somali sentiment for a while. Let's listen to some of that.
Look at Minnesota, where Somalians have taken over the economics of the state and have stolen billions and billions of dollars. And what's happening in Minnesota with Somalia, where
Maya Star FH, thank you for the 100 bones. Sorry.
billions of dollars is being stolen, right? Like candy from a baby.
So, Terry, I'll ask you, where is all this headed, do you think, now that we have this kind of like resurgence in reporting of the situation, and as well as the attention from the highest office in the land?
Well, I think it's a refreshing change from the Biden administration that was infiltrating Catholic organizations like the Knights of Columbus and classifying parents who spoke up at school board meetings as...
CNN, by the way. Yo, it's Stiff Son. Yo, it's If Son? I don't know how to say it. Yo, it's Stiff Son. Thank you for the 25 bones. This whole panel is goddamn insane.
Potential domestic terrorists.
CNN, baby.
Look, this is old. This is, as I think I saw news stories and videos as far back as 2014, definitely 2018. These claims of fraud are verified. They are credible. They've been trying to do things here. And listen, I think that our justice system needs to be colorblind because we know that fraud is not, or I'm sorry, that fraud is colorblind.
Yeah, unless you're looking into Catholic churches, in which case you should stop doing that. Okay, you should stop doing that immediately. We don't like that, but it's cool. We should be colorblind and look at all the Somalis, really. Just try to figure out what they're up to. I don't really like it. What are they doing over there?
This is not about the Somalians. I think the reason that it's being focused on the Somalians is because they're the ones committing it. We took these people in as refugees, and it looks like there's billions and billions of dollars of scams. So hopefully we can get some convictions here and get some justice, because people need this money. People need help with daycare, and no one should be scammed of it, especially taxpayers.
Well, if I can just quickly add, keep in mind Trump University was convicted for fraud, and I would also add that this
yes.
Now
there's also a daycare in Minneapolis that was vandalized after the viral video purportedly exposed fraud, and Nick Shirley went on Valuetainment. Patrick Bet David 777 Planets, thank you for the 10 gifted. Neurodivergent, thank you for the 5 gifted. Yeah, it's Somalis, not Somalians, but that's, I feel, like a lost cause. Now, before we, You know what? Before we look at the vandalism that's taking place in like different Somali childcare facilities, let's take a look at what Asmongold's commentary looks like, given that he's one of the largest content creators on this platform, and also happens to be, covering this issue extensively.
Tell you something. This low income, ignorant, delusional, brain dead, third world importation of all of these illiterate people that can't speak English, that have.
I'm going to say it. Every single Somali person that Nick Shirley encountered is infinitely more intelligent than Nick Shirley. And not just Nick Shirley, but anyone who was duped by Nick Shirley's video. Straight up, Asmongold included.
Skills, live off the government, and are effectively parasites on the United States of America is a class war. All the comments saying you're a Nazi? Guys, this is just like Adolf Hitler.
He is and remains a complete parasite, a scrounger, like a harmful bacteria always spreading further. His presence produces the effect of...
Yeah, these guys also they love doing this thing where it's like, you're calling me a Nazi because I'm basically saying the exact same things that Adolf Hitler said about marginalized groups. Well, guess what? We've destigmatized Adolf Hitler. It's like, I don't think we have, actually. I don't think we have. I mean, I know you're trying to do it, but we clearly haven't. And that's precisely the reason why you go back and forth on saying Nick Fuentes is based, but then also simultaneously getting offended whenever people call you a Nazi. Okay? He's decided, I guess the next pivot here is to say, actually, calling someone a Nazi is not going to be, not going to have the same strength anymore. It'll come back. Don't worry. Hopefully. Hopefully it'll have the same strength again.
A parasitic plant. Wherever he settles, the people who welcome him will be wiped out eventually.
Because parasites have come in from other countries. They're stealing our money. Parasites? How does it even make... They're parasites because they take a job? Yes, of course they are. What is a parasite? A parasite attaches itself to a host country. Stay with me here.
Let him fight. Let him fight. No. It's good. I'm glad that Destiny took time out of his busy yelling at the left to finally wake up to the nightmare scenario. Mr. Supposed Liberal is finally waking up to the reality of the monster that he also played a formative role in the creation of. Okay? Remember, his podcast co-host is directly aligned. Dan Stalkman, because they have a unique enemy, a common shared enemy, and a common shared hatred for this guy here. These guys have been collaborating behind the scenes for the last 2 years in every single deplatforming initiative. Okay? So Mr. Liberal finally woke up to the reality that there is a person who is doing unlimited Nazi propaganda on a daily basis. Jesus Christ.
It attaches itself to a host, and then it extracts nutrients, resources, and life force out of that for itself.
The effect of his existence resembles also that of parasites. Where he appears, the host people die out sooner or later.
Oh. It is insane that a guy who lives in filth and contributes nothing but hatred to American society gets to call random low-wage workers, parasites, dude. Their contributions are endless in comparison to you, my man. Jesus Christ, what have you contributed? You don't do anything. If there's anyone that could be adequately considered a parasite, it would be the guy who just sits around and just goes, yeah, based over Donald Trump videos. It's mind-boggling to me.
And there's an even newer clip. All the comments saying you're a Nazi. Now, is Twitch okay with this? Is this final solution? This is low-key some Adolf... This is just like... Guys, this is just like Adolf Hitler. Listen, maybe this works on Reddit, but it doesn't work anywhere else. Why don't we have a state...
100% does. In the real world, which Asmongold will never actually go out and encounter other human beings, for the most part, because he never leaves his filthy-ass home, okay? But in the real world, of course, someone would absolutely turn around and go, what do you mean being called a Nazi for saying Adolf Hitler is like, what are you doing here? You can't be defending statements like this. Go ahead, dude. Go to any community, run around talking about like these guys are parasitic. The Klan rally that you might attend would be the only appropriate place where you can say like this. Sure, the average American is certainly can be very racist, okay? Especially towards migrants, especially towards black and Muslim migrants. Certainly. Having said that, the moment that you start talking about how Hitler is based, I don't think most Americans are going to be on board with that. Okay? Look at Hasan, meat riding Asmongold for the 300th day in a row. Does it feel like the walls are closing in a little bit on your daddy? On a person that you consider to be this idealistic intellectual? Is that why you guys keep coming in here and crying? Is that what it is? That there is like maybe a fraction of the scrutiny on what he says on a daily basis, and all of a sudden now it's like, oh, you guys, why are you paying attention to him? I don't know. Why are you so scared? Better yet, why is he so scared to have a conversation with someone like myself, for example? That post also got like 800 upvotes in 3 minutes. Reddit is for bots. Oh, it's super, super botted. With the numbers of viewers and subs, it seems like the walls are closing in here. With the numbers of viewers and subs, it seems like the walls are closing in here. What kind of narrative building is this? I've stayed consistently around the same exact numbers for the past year, while also simultaneously retaining the same number of subscribers that Asmongold have. Do you honestly think this is an own? You're like, wow, dude, look at you with your 44,000 subscribers. Like, oh no, I am a victim, dude. You caught me. I know he'll turn around and say, yeah, it's because I don't actually farm for subs. Yeah, neither do I any longer, which is part of the reason why I went from 50K to 44K. But once again, why does it matter to you? You're just a random dude. Why are you riding? Why are you dick riding for another dude? Used to be a fan of Asman back when he made gaming content. Nowadays, 100% of his content is politically biased and caters to white nationalists. He loves to fan the flames of anything conservative because he knows that is where his money comes from. At the end of the day, I doubt most of the things he says he even really stands behind. It's all about how much of that specific audience he can make like-minded content for. No, 100%. I've been saying that. It's not like he's shy about admitting it either. He just openly will say he's only self-interested and he will say whatever is actually beneficial for him. That's precisely the reason why he's changed his mind about a lot of the stuff that, you know, public consciousness is shifted on. The only reason why he keeps leaning into racism stuff is because he sees that the most commonly in his own subreddit and on Twitter. And he actually has a false assessment here. He genuinely thinks that because this kind of narrative is actually a lot more popular and overemphasized on the internet, that it's actually a narrative that is gaining momentum or popularity still, the anti-immigrant stuff that he's doing. It's not. Yeah, flexing another man's accomplishments remains the lame. These guys have no shame. Dude, they are K-pop stans. That's what's so crazy. Imagine being a K-pop stan for Asmongold. At least K-pop stands, at least K-pop artists are hot. You know, at least like you can listen to their music. You're over here standing for this creature, brother. Jesus. Yeah, you're also like a grown-ass man too. God damn.
Where we bring in 50 million illegal immigrants. We will send every illegal immigrant to one state, and we'll see what it's like after 10 years. That's right.
Buddy, that state is called California, and it's got the 5th highest GDP in the world.
That's a great point. The reason why California's GDP is so high is because of illegal aliens. It's not because of all the businesses that are trillion-dollar businesses.
Okay. I don't understand. The California argument is actually not wrong. And who do you think works in the businesses? Like, do you think the entire businesses that exist in this country are comprised Like every single business in California is just there's no migrants working there, undocumented or documented alike.
It's not because of Silicon Valley. Oh, no, of course not. It's actually because of the illegal aliens.
Stupid. You
Yes.
don't know a single fact about literally anything.
That's
What-
right. Of course.
As opposed to what?
I think we need to shut off agriculture in its entirety. California doesn't just have Silicon Valley, even though Silicon Valley heavily relies on H-1B visas, but that's not even what we're going to be talking about here. We're talking about agriculture. California has a robust agricultural output, and the agricultural output is entirely with migrant workers, okay? It's kept up with migrant workers, both seasonal workers and migrant workers that have the proper documentation, and also undocumented migrant workers as well, okay? No more food. Now, of course, yeah, the agriculture is a $60 billion business a year in California. Now, regardless, the proper solution here is not to deport migrants, or the argument here isn't, oh, well, migrants are actually working these low-wage jobs that American citizens would never take on. So obviously we need to keep having a steady flow of basically slave labor that's coming into the country. That's not the argument, or at least that's not my solution, okay? I understand that the two-tiered labor system actually depresses wages for the domestic labor force as well. And the adequate solution here is to create wage parity and the proper documentation given to every single migrant worker. That's how you're supposed to do it. That's the only effective solution. But of course, all these guys want to do is the final solution. Why? Because they're coping, okay? Asmongold has experienced tremendous success for a incompetent who doesn't really know too much, okay? He is the success story. There's a reason why a lot of people love him and praise him like he is their god, because they're also the sweaty, unwashed losers who still sit at home in their parents' house and just spend most of their time after sucking the man's dick on a daily basis. They come home, they crack open a can of Budweiser beer, and they watch Asmongold talk about migrants. It is coming from a place of unimaginable insecurity. The notion that your life is and you have nothing to look forward to, but at least there's a guy out there who resembles your most awful qualities who's actually succeeding, right? And that's the reason why celebrate this man like he's the second coming of Jesus Christ. That's it. And one of the main points of propaganda here is, of course, to say, hey, you know what? My life is, but it's probably because there's brown people out there who are actually ruining this country. My life is because of random Guatemalans. My life is because random Somali people live on U.S. soil. It's not. It's not. Your life is because of capitalism. You won't recognize it. You will never recognize it. And you've been duped. You've been duped from the start, and you refuse to understand the system. So you just keep looking for a group of people that are more vulnerable that you can bully. That's what playground bullies do. And that's what a big driver for right-wing sentiment is. It's the same exact childlike attitude. Kid gets bullied at home, has a home life, father is beaten out of him. He goes to the playground and he tries to beat on all the little kids that are smaller than he is. Why is that kid doing that at the playground? He's doing it because his life sucks and he wants to universalize the pain for others. He's doing it because that makes the playground bully feel strong, okay? Constantly punching down. And that's what it is. It's most like when it's reduced to its bare bones, the major driver for this kind of like white nationalist sentiment is insecurity that comes from having a pathetic life that does not match the dreams that you set out for yourself when you were 12 years old. That's it. None of these guys actually have achieved a level of success that they're comfortable with in their own lives, so they're constantly looking for other people that they can basically cyberbully on the internet, and that somehow makes them feel better about themselves. And he is a perfect vessel for this kind of anxiety. He's a perfect vessel for this kind of animosity, this kind of anger, because he's the random loser who made it, right? In their eyes, he is a god because they live under similar circumstances because they can't, improve their living circumstances because they're stuck working jobs and they hate lives and have very little free time to themselves. And the free times that they're, the modicum of free time that they have to themselves, they spend watching Asmongold consistently telling them like, yeah, everything sucks because of brown people, black people. You're fighting a non-existent enemy. You're not doing anything by pointing out one if thousands and preaching. You're fighting a non-existent enemy. Then why does it hurt your feelings so much?
All the illegal immigrants, Alabama and Louisiana, Georgia. Are you serious? I am getting rage baited. It's rage bait. Don't link me this. I just want
That's right, guys. That's right. Hey, guys, keep in mind, the reason why California is rich is because they have a bunch of illegal aliens. That's great. I had no idea. I thought it was the rich tech companies and the fact that it's like an incredible place geographically. It's like right next to the sea. It's always been one of the biggest states. It has one of the highest populations also, so it's going to naturally have a higher GDP. Yeah, okay.
Oh my God. It's rage bait.
Also, this is not an effective counter to Destiny's argument. I can't believe I'm defending Destiny here now. What's happening? Destiny's argument is, if undocumented migrants destroy entire economies, why is California so successful? That's it. If undocumented migrants are responsible for the death and destruction of entire ecosystems, entire economies, then why is California the fifth largest economy on the planet as a standalone state?
I'm getting rage bait. I know he's rage baiting me.
Yes.
I know it. I know he's rage baiting me.
This is what happens when you have to see the truth. And if I was rage baiting, it is working. The only way that...
Oh my God, yes, that's right. I'm simply rage baiting you. You have raged.
they are a net benefit to society is whenever you are using these fake indicators like GDP, you're going to get mad.
Oh, GDP is fake now.
It absolutely is fake, and it's completely fake. It's all fake money. So I'll go ahead and I'll show you. Was your life better in the purple block or the red block? Did you have more purchasing power in the purple block or the red block? Overwhelmingly.
Oh, this is where the limitations of liberalism come into play. GDP being a fake metric for quality of life standards has nothing to do with whether or not migrants are actually ruining your life personally, undocumented or not. Okay? The reason why, while I do agree with Asmongold in terms of GDP being a not fake metric necessarily, but a metric that doesn't actually present the perfect picture in terms of quality of life, okay? This is utterly irrelevant to the conversation that you started, Asmongold, where you claimed that undocumented migrants are ruining people's lives, okay? It's irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant. GDP is only a worthless indicator until it suits him, let's be clear. Yeah, ironically enough, he said, let's put all the undocumented migrants in one place, in one state, and see what happens to the economy, was the initial claim that he made, as though somehow undocumented migrants are just like less, like worthy of less or something. And if they were, they're inferior somehow. And if they were all comprised in an area that like the economy would suffer, the counter to that was, if that was the case, California would suffer. And yet, judging by the same standard that Asmongold was presenting, California is not suffering, especially in terms of its economy. So then he turns around and goes, well, the GDP is a dumb metric anyway. Yeah, you're not wrong. Okay? You're not wrong in terms of analyzing whether or not in terms of analyzing whether or not people's material conditions are actually up to par, or if the quality of life is for the average person is good, GDP is not a very reliable metric. This is true. That's precisely the reason why you go to like average European cities and whatnot, and average European towns where the GDP is significantly lower than the United States of America's poorest states or poorest neighborhoods, and yet the quality of life is significantly better there. Okay. Or another example would be China for an even better comparison, right? Not the best metric. But the reason why it's even being discussed here is because you brought it up in your initial argument, only to turn around and now say, well, does your quality of life look better here than it did here? Did you have more purchasing power here than it did here? Yeah, it's irrelevant. You're not wrong. What would happen to your quality of life if every single person that's like out there picking tomatoes that make its way into your ketchup that you're consuming, what would happen to your quality of life then? I don't think you'd be giving about the GDP in that situation. You'd just be pissed off that you don't have, ketchup to purchase. Except Asmongold is rich. He will still be able to purchase all of the goods that he wants to purchase at a much, much higher price point. His fan base, on the other hand, will not be able to, and they'll get increasingly more mad as their access to treats have diminished, and they won't know why it happened, and they'll think, maybe we just didn't deport enough migrants.
Everybody's saying purple. That's because basing the GDP off of the human centipede of the 5 most valuable and most profitable tech companies in the country is not a very good indicator for where wealth and consolidation of resources actually is. What about the fact that after COVID, over 90% of the GDP growth and the wealth growth went to the top 1%? GDP is absolutely not a good indicator of what an average person's purchasing.
I hate that he uses, ironically enough, he uses a leftist assessment. Like, this is my talking point, okay? He's using my talking points only to defend the position that undocumented migrants are actually worse overall for people's quality of life. Except there's no evidence for this, okay? This is utterly irrelevant. I mean, he is a National Socialist. I don't even think that he is actually a socialist, okay? Just like the National Socialists weren't actually socialists. Yeah, I saw this one.
There. You see 50 languages spoken in the school, and you see...
How is that a good thing? 50 languages was a punishment from God in the Old Testament for people building the Tower of Babel too high to get to heaven. You're literally looking at an Old Testament punishment from a vengeful God on a fallen world, and you're saying that it's a good thing. Is this fat ball serious? Oh my God. 50 languages? That sounds like chaos. Can you imagine that?
Is he signaling to be a Christo-fascist? I don't know. Maybe if he does a God pivot, that'd be really funny. That would be awesome to see in 2026. Not only does he misunderstand the point of that story, it's not so much different languages, but the invention of different nations or ethnicities and the divide of humanity due to tribalism, which is, of course, he readily engages in. He's also calling someone else bald as an insult. It is wild. Oh, yeah, this was the other thing I wanted to show you guys, by the way. Mr. Based over here did the classic, the most classic pro-Israel defense meme. Wild how all the Israel influencers have the same interest in Somali daycare centers in the same week, says Andrew Mercado, because it's correct. It is very strange that all of these guys that went to Israel, all of a sudden, in the wake of Israel becoming the first country to recognize Somaliland for their own personal ambitions in the Red Sea to counter the Ansar Allah movement that is successfully, or was able to successfully shut off the logistical supply chain going from the Red Sea to Israeli ports. They want to obviously conquer that area to the best of their ability. So now they're betting on Somaliland, first country to recognize Somaliland. Day after that, all of this anti-Somali propaganda comes from a bunch of people who were doing propaganda in Israel. Nick is not the only one. Cam Higby is another one. There's a bunch of these guys, right? Sure, maybe it's not. It's just a unique timing overall, okay? Unique timing overall. Maybe it's not on purpose, but it's a unique instance, all right? And he immediately goes, oh, you see Israel everywhere. Lol, this is stupid. But he's based, and don't forget, he's based, he's anti-Semitic. He loves when Nick Fuentes says Hitler is based. But then also, when someone actually correctly points to how strange it is that all of the pro-Israel influencers are now talking about, Somali interventions on the American welfare state and the American welfare apparatus in unison, all of a sudden it's like, you think everything's Israel, bro. I'm based, though. Yeah. No, it's normal. Last mayor of Gaza, Cam Higby, all guys. Losing my mind watching all these people ignore the entire Somaliland subject this past week. What is this? It has 6K likes, but I like the analysis. Israel's Red Sea miscalculation with respect to Somalia's sovereignty and territorial integrity is already being discussed among regional leaders. Core geopolitical threat. It legitimizes and entrenches alternative governance structures in the Horn of Africa. Yeah, the number one thing is that every single African country is terrified of breakaway states. And that's precisely the reason why. This has 6 likes, not 6,000 likes. Look, every single African country is terrified of breakaway states. That's literally the reason why they've been fine with previous colonial boundaries that were set for them. This will cause a lot of instability across the continent. Somalia views Israel's misadventures as existential threat. As a result, a new front of diplomatic warfare and potential proxy conflict, destabilizing the already fragile Somali state. Turkey, with its massive investments, that's the other reason. I've talked about this already, but another reason as to why Israel was doing the Somaliland recognition is because Turkey has a lot of investments in Somalia, and Israel is Israel's number one op. Aside from Palestinians in the region now, and aside from Iran, of course, is now Turkey. They put the crosshairs on Turkey. That's why you hear a lot of Turkey is our number one enemy now, coming from Israel. So you get to undermine a strategic partnership that already exists against another regional actor, and you get to lay ownership over the other side of the Red Sea in an effort to combat any sort of Yemeni intervention. Yeah, they also want to gain a foothold in the Horn to further destabilize or attack Yemen. Yes. 100%. Hasan, Trump attacked Somalia the most this year. Somalia of the 6 countries of the USA generally received memo to destroy. Israel wants a base for Yemen too. Only country left is Iran, and the 7 countries dehumanizing Somalia serves manufacturing cruelty on the country. USA attacked land of Somalia. Once the one Israel likes it was only kill the peacemaker. Makes sense. What? Anyway, I'm not going to get too far into the Somaliland discourse. I'm just simply stating that they have their own personal desires in this recognition, and the timing of the anti-Somali sentiment that's been brewing, is interesting. It's already been happening. That's why I said it's a convergence. It's a convergence of different interests, right? Attacking migrant groups, attacking different migrant groups in an effort to shift the attention away from yourself or your personal ineptitude. That's obviously one of the reasons. And it's a tried and true technique for the administration. They did this with the Haitians during the election cycle when they said Haitians are eating cats and dogs, and on top of that, they always want to gut welfare programs anyway, so they can now use this as an opportunity to gut welfare programs. These guys love fomenting hatred. The craziest part about it is that it's just like it was done in such a way. It was done in such a sloppy way. But it was done fast and efficient, if that makes sense.
How do you know that you're
Like,
years?
it was fast and efficient. This break-in is causing more conspiracies. What do you mean someone broke in and stole just a payment and enrollment records right before a federal audit? The Minneapolis Daycare Center targeted by this tweet, Nokomis Daycare Center, received telephone threats of violence. It was broken into last night and vandalized. Checkbooks and parents' documents were stolen. Incredible. The DOJ is posting similarly. The dog ate my homework law. Somali daycare manager speaks to the media after his business was allegedly broken into. Claims student enrollment employee documentation was stolen. The dog ate my homework too. By the way, Harmeet Dillon is literally the assistant attorney general in the civil rights division of the Department of Justice, for the record. I need you to understand something. Harmeet Dillon is a civil rights attorney. Okay? Yes. She does follow me. She also, which I don't know why, maybe she's looking closely to see if I'm violating any civil rights of whites or something. But she also gained a lot of notoriety when the Brown shooting took place, and she falsely leaned into the conspiracy that the Brown shooter was the queer Palestinian Brown student. Civil rights attorney for the Department of Justice. Also, she uses the R slur, which, you know, I'm not the most sensitive person about that stuff. I just overall think it's cringe. But it is kind of wild for a civil rights attorney for the Department of Justice to do that. What's next? You're going to drop the N-word too? Like, what kind of civil rights are we doing? She is the civil wrongs attorney. She joined the war on civil rights against the rights. But yeah, all of the hubbub has obviously created copycats, and this is
Top
what's
story
going
in Minnesota.
on. But even then, the vandalism that these places are receiving is not even enough. That's inviting additional conspiracy theories now.
Through a national spotlight, the federal investigation into alleged child care fraud. Here's the latest.
We believe the state of Minnesota has allowed scammers and fake daycares to siphon millions of taxpayer dollars over the past decade.
The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services says it's freezing child care funds for Minnesota after a YouTuber claims to have uncovered fraudulent centers in a viral video. The state gets about $185 million in federal funds each year. The HHS deputy secretary says he's demanded Minnesota Governor Tim Walz audit the centers featured in that video. The governor responded on X saying, quote, "This is Trump's long game. We've spent years cracking down on fraudsters. It's a serious issue, but this has been his plan all along. He's politicizing the issue to defund programs that help Minnesotans." And new today, we're hearing from a Minneapolis daycare center after it says vandals damaged facilities early Monday morning. Frankie McLister joins us now. And Frankie, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Barrett, the break-in happened early Monday morning between 3 and 6 a.m. The daycare behind me says they haven't committed fraud, and they've been in operation since 2016. We're going to show you some video right now of what they say vandals did. Now, this is where they say the vandals got into the daycare through cinder block and appeared to be unsuccessful when trying many other ways. The daycare says it appears the vandals first tried to saw into the door of the Family Dollar next door in the shopping center, but that didn't work. The manager claims those who broke in went straight to the office, stealing information of the many children who were taken care of here.
We are not a part of any harmful things that are being said. We have no problem with CCAP, and our licensing has been good, even the inspections. I want to say no intimidation is going to stop us.
We checked out their profile on the Minnesota Department of Human Services website. It does show that they haven't committed any fraud. There are minor violations, and that is public information that shows they remain in good standing. Barrett?
Okay, a story will continue to follow. Thank you, Frankie. Also new today.
Like, what are they? A Somali scammers liar, Somali scammers liar, a Somali broke in. Is there any point where someone will go, okay, maybe there isn't a scam on this one? Or is every new instance going to be another addition to the conspiracy? Because I feel like once you've decided that it's like all a grand conspiracy, no amount of information that counters your point of view is ever going to be enough. You're just going to automatically assume like, no. Like, even if they're children, they brought those children in. Even if there are children there that you can literally see in like the security footage, oh, well, they just, real sweet that they brought those children in now. Yesterday, there was no children. Well, you didn't actually see the children. They were there. They just wouldn't let you in because it's daycare. Then you go, oh, well, they just brought the children in for the day. I guess it was lucky. Stealing the children's documents isn't enough. Also, like, what? You think there is no other way of investigating this place now that the paperwork is gone? There's no other way of figuring out if there's children there? There is one way. That's when they do a random unscheduled licensing review check, which, if you were paying attention to the news broadcaster, they said this place passed with some minor infractions. I work at a daycare. The government is in and out of it all the time, and we're one of the places that passes the test. Yeah, exactly. Notice how Kaya isn't there anymore? You're joking, right? That's a joke, right? She just got up. You have no object permanence, right? Like, is that what's going on? You were just incapable of object permanence? Like, what is happening? You are a manipulator? Brother, unlucky for you. I think a lot of things confuse you, I suspect. If you subscribe to the Piker Broadcasting Service, you will be able to rewind and see moments prior to you coming into the broadcast, Kaya was laying right there. That's right. The Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the viewers, for you, the viewers. Your subscriptions in the form of a $6 a month subscription or a free one in the form of a Twitch Prime allow me to maintain my editorial independence. It's kind of funny, though, because it's like, he did do this kind of like whenever I stop covering a subject and then people will come in and be like, oh, did you talk about this thing? Like right as I'm done covering it. And that's kind of what happened here with the Kaya thing. All this time, and I still don't understand. Is it bad if Kaya's on screen or off screen? Like, what does it all signify? Can they keep track of it? I don't know. Especially considering the thousands of hours of Kaya being on and off screen for like the last 2 years. They just didn't, they didn't seem to care about it because they have no object permanence. Remember, there is no object permanence. If Kaya's off screen, it's abuse. If Kaya's on screen, it's abuse. I worked in state licensing for the payments are specific for kids getting state funds for daycare. The kids are all well documented individually and their families. Their daycares aren't just saying, we got 100 kids, money please government. Yeah, that's the other side of the story. If there's one thing the federal government or state governments don't like doing, it's dishing out cash for no reason. In order for these daycares to get any sort of state subsidies, they not only have to have access to the parents, to the names of the children, but their parents, and not only their parents, but their parents' income status. Okay? Because they don't want to give money to wealthy parents that are sending their children to the daycare. So they have to justify that they need this financial assistance. So simply breaking into this place and stealing the documentation is not going to allow them to continue this fraudulent conspiracy because the government already has access to the information. And there are also different means of procuring that information regardless of the paperwork that existed in the place. It sounds more to me like a random dumbass that went in to try and cross-reference this data somehow in their minds to uncover the fraud investigation.
The ringleader of the Feeding Our Future scheme is being ordered to pay up for the crime. Amy Bach, the founder of Feeding Our Future.
It is also pretty funny that these guys are the ones who are like, Somalis are low IQ, but they're also, I guess, like smart enough to concoct this massive grand conspiracy. But what does this say about your IQ that you're falling for this? And I guess that's part of the process, isn't it? Maybe you feel a little insecure about your low IQ, so you just have to fantasize about how all Somalis are inferior scammers.
Was found guilty of taking tens of millions of dollars meant to feed hungry children during the pandemic.
Goddamn.
Just yesterday, a judge ordered Bach to forfeit
subs.
$5.2 million. Now, updates to the fraud.
Yeah, the woman on screen is not
Here's
Somali.
the power of what social media does today. 23 years old, you go and find out for yourself. You're not waiting on ABC, CNN, CBS, any of these guys. You go ask questions. After asking questions yesterday, I believe was it HHS, Rob, that came out yesterday? If I'm not mistaken, they came out yesterday and they stopped $185 million of funding to Minneapolis.
Yeah, big W's all around, dude. Big W's all around. Also, it's pretty funny that this guy is talking about fraud.